it dawned on me, we got that story of David and Bathsheba and Uriah. And when the prophet came and he gave his little scenario and David went, that guy ought to die. And then the prophet said, but David, you are that man. I think that was the moment that it dawned on me that my addiction to pornography was not a bad idea. It was not a bad plan. It was not a chemical imbalance. It was a sin. And the power in that acknowledgement was that for mental health, there are counselors. For a chemical imbalance, there are pills. For all these other behavioral modifications, there's a practice, there's a habit, et cetera, et cetera. And all that's fine, but for sin, there's only one solution. As a former addict, and I say, somewhere along that line of debaseness, anything goes.
Yeah.
In fact, the imagery that God gave me when I first read that, if you were here and said, I'll never be here, but now you're here now, this is your destiny if you don't get off the path. I had the imagery of hanging over the Grand Canyon with nothing but a shoestring of grace around my neck. And God was saying, there's a point when I just cut the shoestring and you fall in. And everything you've ever imagined that you said I wouldn't becomes an insatiable desire. So step away now. And that 2 Peter 3:9 is such a strong verse. He said, I'm not slow keeping my promises. I'm patient, not willing that any should perish. When I was in prison, you came to see me. It's not about the salve that brings peace to the savage beast. It's about the redemptive work of Christ being made knowledgeable to the people who are serving the time for what their consequences for what they did. I know people who've done away with somebody because they bought the wrong car, married the wrong woman or man or whatever, but God doesn't do that. And so finding an emissary who's willing to go into that environment and go, I know who you were. I know who you think you are. But more than that, I know whose you are, and I know his ability to redeem that. And addressing it, like you said, and all these other ways of getting rid of it. Without Jesus, you can't rid of. You get rid of this little addiction, habit, problem, whatever you want to call it. If the Spirit doesn't fill that place, it doesn't get any better.
Right.
The only way to overcome the evil one is by the blood of the Lamb and the word of your testimony. The word of your testimony, that's talk therapy. You've got to be willing to share your story. And the first place you've got to share it is face to face with the King. And if you can't come clean with yourself and come clean with God, that confession, without that, you're done. When David said, that man should die, and the prophet said, David, that man is you. In that moment, David said, I have sinned against Bathsheba, Uriah, and my God. And he began lamenting that process of saying, I'm sorry for what I've done wrong. And if you're not there yet, let me just tell you something. That light, that's not the light at the end of the tunnel. That's a train. And if you don't get off these tracks, it will slaughter you. You've got to get past this addictive problem. You've got to get past this behavior. You've got to get past this willingness to say, it's okay, nobody knows. Because the day is going to come and everybody's going to know. And it will destroy everything you care about. From your life to your livelihood to the people you love. Get free while you have a chance to be free. Again, I'm not telling you there won't be any consequences. There may well be consequences. But you can live eternity in heaven if you get free from the sin that owns you right now. And if you have an addiction, whether it's sexuality or anything else, you are not the master. You're the slave. You will do what it tells you to. Take the time to break free. Then get help through a pastor, through a counselor, through a coach. But don't try to do this on your own. If that worked, you'd already be free.